this is what this business is all about.
On the morning of July 24th, 2025, the world of wrestling and entertainment was shaken to its core. News spread quickly from Clearwater, Florida, that Hulk Hogan, born Terry Jean Bollea, had been found unresponsive in his mansion at the age of 71. 2 millions. Hogan was not just a wrestler, he was a global icon who brought professional wrestling into the mainstream. His booming voice, larger-than-life personality, and unforgettable matches made him one of the most recognized figures of the 1980s and beyond. At first, local headlines suggested the cause was natural, possibly a heart attack or complications from his long medical history. Hogan's body had endured decades of surgeries and physical punishment from wrestling, so this explanation seemed believable. However, things took a surprising turn when Hogan's wife, Sky Daly, returned home early from a wellness retreat and made the grim discovery. She found her husband lying near his home gym, a place that had been his sanctuary. At first glance, it looked like a sudden collapse, but small details began to bother investigators. The scene didn't feel right. The gym was spotless, almost too clean, and the high-tech security system in Hogan's mansion had been manually disabled. With no forced entry and no clear explanation, local police soon called in the FBI. What should have been a straightforward case of natural death suddenly turned into a mysterious investigation that shocked fans and family alike. Mystery inside the mansion. When FBI agents entered Hogan's home, the first thing they noticed was how unnaturally clean everything looked. Hogan was known to be tidy, but not to the point where his gym appeared untouched, like it had been staged for show. Normally, there would have been signs of activity, towels, water bottles, workout equipment, slightly out of place. But instead, every dumbbell was lined up perfectly. Mirrors were spotless, and the air smelled sterile rather than lived in. This was unusual for someone who trained daily and was proud of keeping an active routine even at his age. Even more troubling was the discovery that Hogan's expensive security system had been shut down manually from inside the house. There were no power failures, no signs of tampering from the outside, only deliberate shutdown from within. For a man obsessed with privacy and safety, this was a massive red flag. Either Hogan himself disabled it, or someone with knowledge of the system and access to his home had done it. FBI cyber experts and forensic teams quickly joined the case. Combing through smart home logs, phone records, and digital files, they found a strange pattern. While Hogan's daily activities looked normal, there was an unexplained event that stood out. Just 3 days before his death, Hogan had received a mysterious late-night phone call. His wife Sky remembered the moment clearly. Hogan had looked pale and shaken afterward, as if the call deeply unsettled him. He said almost nothing, but the change in his mood was obvious. For someone as confident as Hogan, this rare moment of fear stuck in Sky's mind, and it became a key clue for investigators. The cryptic call that changed everything. The phone call became one of the most important details in the FBI's investigation. According to reports, the call came late in the evening and lasted less than a minute. Hogan listened in silence and said only one word before hanging up. Sky later described it as the first and only time she had ever seen fear in his eyes. Investigators later discovered that the call had been routed through multiple countries using encrypted servers, making it almost impossible to trace. Even with advanced FBI technology, they couldn't determine exactly where it originated. The content of the call has never been made public, but insiders hinted it was not just a random prank. One FBI source even described it as a trigger, suggesting that something in Hogan's past or present had caught up with him. This was troubling because, in the months before his death, Hogan's life had seemed calm and stable. Thanks to Sky, who was a yoga instructor and wellness coach, Hogan had found peace in meditation, clean eating, and light training. Family members and friends described him as the healthiest he had been in years. For someone who had lived through scandals, divorce, lawsuits, and health struggles, this period was like a second chance at life. That is what made the mysterious phone calls stand out. It disturbed a man who had finally found peace. Soon, investigators began looking not only at the last days of Hogan's life, but also at the long shadows of his complicated history. They believed that understanding his past could help explain his final days. A complicated family past. FBI's investigation didn't stop with Hogan's final moments. It stretched back into his decades of personal and family drama. Hulk Hogan was not only famous for wrestling, but also for his reality show, Hogan Knows Best, which once showed him as a family man with his wife Linda and their 2 children, Brooke and Nick. But behind the cameras, life was far from perfect. In 2007, Hogan's marriage to Linda ended in a very public and bitter divorce, following allegations of infidelity. The divorce nearly broke him emotionally and financially, and he later admitted he considered suicide during that period. He found support from friends and managed to rebuild, eventually marrying again in 2010, but that relationship also ended by 2022. Finally, he found Sky Daly, who became a source of peace in his later years. However, his relationship with his daughter Brooke remained strained. She was noticeably absent from his wedding to Sky in 2023 and later expressed mixed feelings about his choices. These family tensions mattered to investigators because such rifts often lead to disputes over inheritance, legal matters, or unresolved personal conflicts. In fact, after his death, Brooke insisted on a full autopsy because she did not fully trust the official explanations. Even though she later said she was satisfied with the police's findings, her early doubts showed how divided the family was. The FBI took all of this into account, noting that Hogan's personal life had been full of fractured relationships, public scandals, and emotional battles. These patterns gave weight to the possibility that his death might not have been as simple as a natural event. Hogan's health history added yet another layer of confusion to the case. Just 2 months before his death, he had undergone a risky spinal surgery called a CDF surgery, which carried potential complications. Not long after, radio host Bubba the Love Sponge claimed live on air that Hogan had fallen into a coma. The rumor spread quickly, alarming fans worldwide. Sky Daly denied it, assuring everyone that Hogan was fine, and for a while, her words seemed true. Hogan appeared in public, looking strong, smiling with fans, and training at home again. But whispers persisted, especially among medical experts who warned that such a surgery could have hidden risks. One theory suggested that Hogan's phrenic nerve, which controls breathing, might have been damaged during surgery, leaving him vulnerable to sudden respiratory failure. So when Sky found him unresponsive in July, many believed the surgery might have played a role. For the FBI, however, things didn't line up. So as the sterile gym, the disabled security system, and the mysterious phone call didn't match a simple medical collapse. The investigation deepened, and rumors only multiplied. Some people believed it was all a tragic accident of age and health, while others whispered about darker possibilities involving Hogan's past connections and enemies. The uncertainty fueled endless speculation, making his death one of the most talked about mysteries in wrestling history. The most shocking twist came from a rumored second FBI sweep of Hogan's mansion. According to leaks, agents found a hidden basement room behind a false wall. Inside were files, documents, and items that did not seem to fit with the life of a retired wrestler. One folder was reportedly dated just a day before Hogan's death, possibly connected to the cryptic phone call. Authorities have never officially confirmed this discovery, but the whispers were enough to spark wild speculation. Was Hogan keeping secrets? Was he involved in something bigger than anyone imagined? Or was the story exaggerated as it spread online? The FBI remained silent, stating only that the investigation was ongoing and that no foul play had been officially proven. This left fans caught between 2 versions of the story: the official report of a natural death, and the mysterious rumors of something much darker. The tension between these 2 narratives kept Hogan's death in the public eye long after the funeral. Fans painted murals in Clearwater with his famous catchphrase, "What you gonna do, brother?" while investigators quietly continued their work. Even now, the unanswered questions remain. What was in that hidden room? Who made the phone call? And why was Hogan's security system turned off that morning? To understand why Hulk Hogan's death shocked the world so deeply, One has to look back at how he first became a larger-than-life figure. In the early 1980s, wrestling was still a regional sport, popular in certain parts of the United States, but not yet the global entertainment spectacle it is today. That began to change when Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation WWF, now WWE, pushed for national expansion. Hogan, with his massive frame, golden mustache, and booming charisma, was the perfect face for this movement. His catchphrases like, "What you gonna do, brother, when Hulkamania runs wild on you?" electrified crowds. He became a symbol of strength, patriotism, and family values, an American superhero in the ring. Matches like his unforgettable clash with Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 in 1987 turned wrestling into must-see entertainment. In that moment, when Hogan body-slammed Andre before 93,000 fans in the Pontiac Silverdome, Hulkamania truly went global. Children wore his bandanas, adults admired his larger-than-life persona, and his theme song became instantly recognizable. For many fans, Hogan wasn't just an athlete, he was a cultural icon. This rise to superstardom made him a household name. And it's also why, decades later, his mysterious death would attract worldwide attention. A man who once seemed unstoppable had been found vulnerable. And that contrast made the loss even harder to accept. Yet Hogan's life was not only filled with triumphs, it was also marred by controversies that shaped both his career and personal struggles. In the 1990s, his move to World Championship Wrestling WCW reinvented him as Hollywood Hogan, the villainous leader of the New World Order, NWO. While the turn shocked fans, it also prolonged his career, making him relevant to a new generation. But off-screen, things were not as glamorous. Hogan faced lawsuits, financial troubles, and criticism for his involvement in various scandals. The biggest blow came in the mid-2010s when private recordings surfaced in which Hogan used offensive language. WWE immediately cut ties with him, removing him from their Hall of Fame and distancing the brand from his name. For a time, Hogan seemed cancelled, his legacy stained. Yet, in typical fashion, he made a slow comeback, apologizing publicly and being reinstated into the Hall of Fame by 2018. But the damage lingered. Some fans forgave him, others did not. On top of this, his personal life spiraled. His marriage to Linda ended in a bitter divorce battle that revealed shocking details about his finances, lifestyle, and alleged affairs. His son Nick faced legal troubles after a car accident, and his daughter Brooke's music career faltered despite his support. Each setback chipped away at the once invincible image of Hulkamania. And yet, Hogan always managed to stand tall again, no matter how badly life seemed to knock him down. This resilience made his final death investigation even more confusing, because if there was one thing fans believed, it was that Hogan could overcome anything. In the years before his passing, Hogan lived a quieter life, trying to focus on health, family, and redemption. After decades of wrestling injuries, he underwent more than a dozen back surgeries, including the risky spinal procedure just months before his death. Many feared he would never walk again, but Hogan proved them wrong, appearing at fan events and even stepping into the ring for cameos. Beyond wrestling, his marriage to Sky Daly brought him peace. Friends described her influence as calming, steering Hogan away from the chaos of fame and into a more balanced lifestyle. He was seen at church events, charity functions, and even took up meditation and yoga under Sky's guidance. For fans, this period felt like a second chapter, where Hogan had finally found stability after years of turmoil. This is why the sudden nature of his death felt so unfair. Just as he seemed to be healing physically, emotionally, and spiritually, life was cut short. The details uncovered in the FBI's investigation, such as the disabled security system and mysterious phone call, shattered the peaceful image of Hogan's final years. They suggested that behind the scenes, there were still unresolved struggles or hidden threats. Whether these were personal demons, health-related fears, or external pressures, we may never fully know. But the contrast between his public peace and private turmoil remains one of the most puzzling parts of this story. As with any sudden death of a global icon, theories quickly surfaced. Some fans pointed to his long medical history, particularly the surgeries that left him vulnerable. Medical experts noted that complications from spinal operations